I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Lindy Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Arcane Mark. Today we're going to be building a character with all of you.
That's right. There's a lot of people who just started getting into Pathfinder 2nd Edition and who were interested in learning how to build a character. So we're going to go through all of the steps of building a character, and we'll show that we can do it even if it's not like a pre-planned character by having you to make all the decisions on exactly what we're going to do with this character. So if you're here in the chat, then get ready to make the decisions for our characters in the chat. So, to get us started with making a character in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we have what are called the ABCs of character creation in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. A is for ancestry. That's like race or species in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. B is for background, and C is for class. So let's start by choosing our ancestry for this character. Now, there are a lot of ancestries that exist in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we can choose any of those ancestries. We're then not going to dive too deep into the ancestry once we pick it until we've already picked the background in the class. So the core common ancestries are dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, human. Then there's a lot of other ancestries available, such as Azarketi, Catfolk, Fetchlings, Gnolls, Gripply, who are like frogs, Hobgoblins, Kitsune, Kobold, Leshies, Lizard Folk, Nagaji, who are like snake people, Orcs, Rat Folk, Tengu, Vanara, who are monkeys, Anati, who are spider people, Androids, Automatons, Konrasus, Fleshwarps, Gorons, Goloma, Kashrishi, Poppets, Shisks, Skeletons, Sprites, Strix, Vishkanya, and those are just in some of the currently active Paizo products. You could also choose Dragon from Battlezoo Ancestry's Dragons, or hey, Slimes has been released in Battlezoo Ancestry Slimes, or what the heck, Doppelgangers is coming out next month. So you can be any of these things, and yes, hey, it's Maddie P. Skeleton is one of the choices. So in chat, just put in your vote for any ancestry that you want, and we will make the ancestry that chat demands.
I think that's a vote for skeleton.
It looks like there's one vote for skeleton. We will make whatever ancestry chat demands. I'm even willing to do doppelganger, even though it's not even out yet. We'll still do it if that's what chat picks, or dragon, anything you want. So, just type into chat the name of any of those ancestries. No mimics, Rico.
All right, so we have one.
Numbat says orc. TF Gas says doppelganger. Hey, it's Maddie says skeleton.
We have skeleton, orc, Kitsune, and
a ninja slayer is Kitsune. Yes, so we've got those. We're not going to accept the Mimic one because since Mimic is not the one coming out like next month in a few weeks, it would be too soon. Eater of Worlds says Fetchling. Those are shadow-touched people who went into the shadow plane and became Fetchlings. Beamer says human.
Human.
Rico says slime.
That still only counts as one vote.
That only counts as one vote.
Oh my god, everyone wants to build something different.
Yes. That just goes to show that Pathfinder has a lot of options. Okay, well, let's roll 1d7. Oh, no, so Dave Nielsen wants to build Tiefling, which is actually a versatile heritage, so we don't have to pick it yet. So we would be picking that later on. And, it looks like Scott did not realize that Human was voting for something, just arrived and saw people putting the names of ancestries and just put human.
All right. Well, I can do this as a 7 and see if any of the folks who didn't propose.
Everyone voted for their own, so we can just roll randomly.
Are we gonna do? Okay. I guess we.
Well, it looks like Scott didn't really want to vote for
it just
human.
Was saying
so
that he was human.
There are only 6, right?
All right. Skeleton or Kitsune, doppelganger, fetchling, or
all right.
slime.
So the third alphabetically.
All right. It looks like the third. Oh, I didn't list them alphabetically. Okay.
Okay. Well,
doppelganger, fetchling. All right, that is going to be Kitsune.
That was also the third non-alphabetically.
Non-alphabetically.
Okay, Kitsune wins. It looks like. There you go. So, we're building a Kitsune. Let's decide what background the Kitsune could have. Now, there are too many backgrounds for me to just read all of the backgrounds out here. So, I'm only going to go with common backgrounds. Because if we went with...
Warlock approves of the choice of Kitsune.
If we went with backgrounds of all possibilities, then there would be too many. So, when you hear me say a name that you think is cool, just type that right into chat, like, at that point. It's okay if you wind up changing it. You don't have to send it until the end or something like that, because I'm going to go through the common backgrounds. Academy Dropout, Acolyte, Acrobat, Animal Whisperer, Anti-Tech Activist, Archaeologist, Artisan, Artist, Astrologer, Back Alley Doctor, Bandit, Barber, Barkeep, Barrister, Bookkeeper, Bounty Hunter, Cannoneer, Charlatan, Clockfighter, Clockwork Researcher, Codebreaker, Cook, Courier, Criminal, Cultist, Curandero, Deckhand, Deputy, Detective, Disciple of the Gear, Dreams of Vengeance. Okay, that probably shouldn't have been common since it is in a player's guide. So let's ignore that one.
Mm-hmm.
Driver. I'm gonna ignore another one that's from an adventure path. Eidolon Contact, Emissary, Entertainer, False Medium, Farmhand, Farmsteader, Field Medic, Fireworks Performer, Fortune Teller, Gambler, Gladiator, Grave Robber, Guard, Gunsmith, Haunted Citizen, Herbalist, Hermit, Hired Killer, Hounded Thief, Hunter, Insurgent, Junk Collector, Junker, Laborer, Magical Merchant, Magical Misfit, Martial Disciple, Mechanic, Medicinal Clocksmith, Merchant, Miner, Musical Prodigy, Necromancer's Apprentice, Night Watch, Noble, Nomad, Occult Librarian, Once Bitten, Outrider, Awesome Experience, Pathfinder Recruiter, Pilgrim, Pillar, Plant Whisperer, Printer, Prisoner, Pyre Tender, Raised by Belief, Reclaimed Investigator, Refugee, Root Worker, Saboteur, Sailor, Saloon Entertainer, Scavenger, Scholar, Scout, Sentinel Reflectance, Servant, Spell Seeker, Spotter, Squire, Street Preacher, Street Urchin, Student of Magic, Tax Collector, Teacher, Tinker, Toy Maker, Trailblazer, Translator, Undertaker, Wandering Preacher, Ward, Warrior, Wastewalker, and that's it. There were some other ones that were from Adventure Path that probably should have been uncommon. So, what have we got here? We've got,
so far, we have Archaeologist, Astrologer, Back Alley Doctor, Clockwork Researcher, Detective, Grave Robber, Insurgent, Magical Merchant, and then somebody chatted Middle Management, which is not actually...
it's not actually one of them.
One of them.
All right.
What was the 24th one?
What was the 24th one again? I don't know, but it looks... Did two people pick Back Alley Doctor? I saw Back Alley Cat Doctor.
All right, I'm gonna put a little thing in here for all the ones that were mentioned, please.
Vote for one of these ones that were mentioned. If you're in chat, put the number 1 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on which one you want. All right. It looks like there's several for Detective. Kitsune Detective. There's also several for 2, which is, what is that? Astrologer. Hello, Darkstrider 40K.
All right, Mark, can you read off the numbers for me?
All right, I sure can. 554274226.
A little slower. 554274226.
385.
385.
So it looks like Detective has this, right?
Yes, Detective does have this.
All right, it's a Kitsune Detective. Now that we know that our background is Detective. Yeah, that's right, Darkstrider 40K. This is a good place to start. We're building a character from chat, so you can see we didn't have this planned in advance between ourselves. We're just literally building whatever anybody says, just so you can see it's easy to build a character and to build a good, solid character, even if your chat just kind of picks whatever. We're going to make a playable character.
So far we know we have
a Kitsune detective. So,
and their background is
So
detective.
what is a Kitsune for people who don't know as much about Japanese lore? So Kitsune are a type of fox person who can shapeshift between either like a kind of furry fox person and either a fox or a human form, and they have mystical abilities. That's what a Kitsune is, and a detective, I think, is self-explanatory as a background. So we've got a Kitsune detective. Let's figure out what class.
We've done the ancestry, we've done the background. Now it's time for the third part of the ABCs, the class.
ABC. So before I even read the list of classes, investigator stands out to me as one that matches with detective, but it doesn't have to be an investigator just because you're a detective. You could be a barbarian detective or whatever you want. So here are the classes. So the classes that you can choose are Alchemist, Barbarian, Bard, Champion, Cleric, Druid, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Summoner, Swashbuckler, Thaumaturge, Fighter, Investigator, Magus, Monk, Oracle, Psychic, Witch, Wizard, Gunslinger, and Inventor. That's a lot. What do people think here? There is...
So I see investigator, swashbuckler, and rogue being mentioned here. Oh, there's a lot of investigator.
Yeah, well, we are a detective.
We are a detective.
We also have one that's mastermind rogue. We've got a kineticist.
Ace Ventura Kit Detective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like investigator. So we're gonna build an investigator. This is the way. Oh, lore oracle is a good idea too, RD books, but investigator has this. Once we pick detective as our background, it works out. So we are a Kitsune detective who became an investigator, which is like maybe a very obvious choice with the background as a detective. Now that we know all three of those, let's actually customize all three of them, because in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you get to customize beyond just making those choices. So, for example, let's go into Kitsune for a moment. We need to figure out which kind of Kitsune, which heritage we have as a Kitsune. So that's kind of like a subrace or subspecies in D&D 5e. So as a Kitsune...
what are some things that we know for sure?
We know for sure that our base starting hit points are going to be 8. We're medium size. Our speed starts at 25 feet. And we're going to get an ability boost to charisma and then to whatever we want, which... in theory, should probably be either intelligence, which is investigator's ability score for investigator, or maybe like a fighty one. Probably not like randomly wisdom, but I mean wisdom's a good stat, but still. We also get common, as well as some additional languages equal to our intelligence modifier.
We'll get to that once we know what that is.
We get low light vision, and we get the ability to change shape into either a fox or a human, depending on our situation. And our situation will also depend on which Kitsune heritage we pick. So, here are the options. We can be a celestial envoy who has been sent down by some kind of celestial being, and we will gain the ability to invoke celestial privileges as a reaction against divine effects. In that case, we will look like a human or some other humanoid that lives in the area. We can be Dark Field Kitsune, in which case we would be able to try to demoralize people and then have as a reaction invigorating fear to get some temporary hit points. And in that case, Fox is our alternate form. Earthly Wild Kitsune is going to have a jaw attack that's pretty damaging, in which case Fox is our ultimate form. Empty Sky Kitsune is going to give us some magic, like a cantrip we can do, and a human is going to be our alternate form. And then Frozen Wind Kitsune is going to give us cold resistance and resistance to environmental cold effects. And human is going to be, or a humanoid that's prevalent in the area, is going to be our alternate form.
So far what are people thinking? Two folks talking about dark fields.
Dark field for the brooding detective. All right, so we are building a dark field Kitsune. So that means we can demoralize without, just by an unsettling presence visually, without auditory need to do anything. And even if they don't understand our language, just like we're an unsettling fox. And once per hour as a reaction, if something becomes frightened within 60 feet of us, we're going to gain 3 temporary hit points or the creature's level, whichever is higher, with our invigorating fear. Great. So now to finish off our Kitsune, the only thing we have to do now, the last thing, is we pick a Kitsune feat at first level. So they're all the first level feats for Kitsune are pretty plausible for this. But so let's figure out which one we want. There are like 6 options. So Foxfire lets us shoot out a ranged Foxfire attack at people. Kitsune Lore gives us a bunch of skills, which if we combine with Investigator, we will have like all the skills. Kitsune Spell Familiarity is going to give us a cantrip. Retractable Claws is going to give us some claws that do slashing damage.
And cantrip's a spell that you can just keep casting.
Yes.
As much as you
similar to 5e. Shape Changer's Intuition lets you see through disguises of others who are shape changed, and Star Orb gives you a familiar that is like a stone orb. It's not like a creature, it's an orb. So, let's see which of these options people are interested in. Between the Star Orb, the Shape Changer's Intuition, Retractable Claws, getting a cantrip from Spell Familiarity, getting a bunch more skills with Kitsune Lore, or Foxfire to shoot out some flames. Which feat should we take on our Kitsune Detective Investigator with the Dark Fields Heritage?
So far, we've got 1 for Spell Familiarity and 2 for Star Orb.
Okay. And Shape Changer's Intuition makes sense, but Spell Familiarity is fun.
Alright, 2 for Spell Familiarity, 2 for Star Orb.
Can the magic feat take shield? Yes. It can take shield, Eridu. Absolutely. Now, shield is not as broken in Pathfinder 2nd Edition as it is in DD5e, so, but it's still very handy to have around. Alright, so it looks like we're taking Spell Familiarity. Eridu knows. Eridu knows.
Spell Familiarity.
Oh wait, no, it can't. It can't take shield. I completely forgot. Kitsune Warlock is right. It cannot take shield. Do you change your vote? It only takes Daze, Forbidding Ward, or Ghost Sound. It takes Kitsune flavored ones.
So okay, so then I think
I had mistaken it for a different one.
I think we are then back to being tied.
We may be back to being tied. I forgot what was all on there. It's only Daze, Forbidding Ward, or Ghost Sound. Forbidding Ward is a very good cantrip, but it's very needy, and investigators might not be able to give all of the attention that Forbidding Ward needs to a Forbidding Ward. So, what do people think? It looks like it's a tie, so we'll roll randomly unless anyone else has an opinion about which feat to take.
Should we take the cantrip one, or should we take the Star Orb one?
A spell or a familiar orb? And I will roll randomly, and then if someone has answered during that time, then we will go with what someone answered.
I saw an answer for spell.
Okay, spell it is. We're taking a spell. Now we have to choose which of the spells. Daze is an attack spell that does low damage, but is a will save, which a lot of cantrips aren't, and it could potentially stun the enemy if you get really lucky. Ghost Sound really lets you trick people by making illusory sounds whenever you want. And Forbidding Ward buffs defense against one enemy for one of your allies. There may be an action economy issue with an investigator because you kind of have to, like, sustain the spell. But you might be able to find a way around it anyway. So a lot of people want Daze. Okay, so we're going to get Daze.
All right.
On our Kitsune Spell Familiarity. There we go. It's a Divine Innate Spell at will.
Awesome. So that's what we got to pick for being a Kitsune.
That's what we got from there. Now we're done with Kitsune. Backgrounds. Oh, we're not quite done. We need to figure out about our ability scores. But
Yeah,
let's just save up the ability scores that are freebies until later. So we're a detective. That means that we have to take intelligence or wisdom and 1 free boost. Obviously, we take intelligence, the key ability score of investigator. Well, we can leave the free boosts for later on. Technically, you have to take all of your boosts during each stage one at a time. The reason for this is when you're building a character, you're not allowed to take the same ability score during the same stage. So, for example, we just took intelligence from our background. That means we can't take intelligence again for our background. We have to take something else. Anything else.
What skill what was the skill for detective here?
So detective has a few more things it's going to give us. It's going to give us society as well as underworld lore. It's also going to give us the streetwise feat, which is very good for investigators to be able to like know how things are on the street. So those are what we're going to get for being a detective in total. So, as Eater of Worlds points out, you can also, with Kitsune's spell familiarity, each day we can change it from Days Forbidding Ward and Ghost Sound if we know we're not going to get in a fight. We'll just have it as days for now, but we can just change it every day. It's pretty handy. So, people are saying that Dex is going to be important to sneak around. So, sure, we can get some Dexterity too. So, let's take Dexterity as our second one from Detective. We can punt what we're taking as our second one from Ancestry until later because that one is going to be a little bit trickier to decide whether we want intelligence or dexterity. But now we will move on to class. So our class is Investigator. That's where a lot of our stuff is going to come from. So Investigator is going to right away give us Intelligence as one of our ability boosts because it is our key ability score. It also automatically gives us the ability on the case. Once every 10 minutes, we can spend a minute examining the area and go on the case about a particular subject related to a clue that we found. So we designate that subject, and at that point, we get bonuses on a whole bunch of types of skills against that subject, and we will be able to be really strong if we wind up fighting that subject later on. We also gain Clue In. Once every 10 minutes as a reaction, we can share the information that we have and share the bonus that we gained against our lead that we were pursuing with our allies. We also gain Devise a Stratagem as one action or free if we are already pursuing this person as a lead. Once per round, we can do that thing from, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes where they're just, like, do the entire battle in their head, figuring out everything that's going to happen, and then make a strike using intelligence that does bonus damage with an agile or finesse weapon. So that's pretty cool. That is something we have. That's why getting a lead is going to be very, very helpful for us. So we automatically get that. But then we get a little bit more too. Strategic Strike is an ability that gives us the bonus damage when we are going to devise a stratagem. We also get to pick a methodology. Now it's kind of like a subclass, but we get it at level 1. Some classes don't have them in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Investigator does. So let's pick what our methodology is. That's sort of like, how do we go about being a detective? If you've seen detective shows, you know that some detectives are just like in a lab, like, I guess in Bones, they're all in a lab doing lab work. You could be an alchemical sciences investigator where you're going to use chemical analysis. You know about alchemy. You get a bunch of alchemical items. You can use empiricism. That's like classic Sherlock Holmes where you just are going to use reasoning to try to figure out what's going on. You gain, at that point, a feat called That's Odd, where you can figure out something out is odd, and as a free action, once per 10 minutes, you can just suddenly sense motive, seek, or recall knowledge. There's Forensic Medicine. Actually, maybe that one is Bones. Because
Bones is more forensic medicine,
doctor.
yeah.
The alchemical science is more of doing chemistry, which Sherlock Holmes also did. Forensic Medicine is particularly you investigate bone fractures, bruising, blood splatters, carrion insects, and you gain medicine, and you're good at patching up your allies too. Interrogation is kind of like Columbo, where you gain no cause for alarm feat, and you can also pursue a lead over the course of a conversation. Now, Linda, did you go to the intro video randomly in the middle of the video?
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. I did not mean
Linda
to.
Linda went to the intro video. It just happened.
I did not mean to.
We don't know why she did it.
I was trying to scroll the chat and my mouse moved and
it was surprising to everyone. No cause for alarm.
No cause for alarm.
So the Columbo one, no cause for alarm, also can ask a pointed question where you attempt diplomacy to try to trick them into answering the question. So let's see what people said here. So people are saying, Longstarter 42 is catching up. So it is a Kitsune detective investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And we are now choosing which kind of...
Dark Fields heritage.
We are choosing which kind of investigator it is. Also, Numbat, thank you for gifting a sub. So,
so when the intro went away, one of the two hosts would go missing. Yes, so you have to figure it out.
Figure out which one it is.
No, unfortunately, it is the far more prosaic technical difficulty.
Ninja Slayer says that interrogation will work with our intimidation Kitsune ability since they both use some charisma-based skills. Interrogation is also what Eater of World said. Umbral Corvus is torn between forensic and interrogation. Mm-hmm. Interrogation. All right, we're doing interrogation.
Alrighty.
All right. We're going to get diplomacy from that automatically, and the no cause for alarm skill feat, and we can pursue a lead during a conversation rather than actually spending time looking for the lead as long as the conversation is long enough, even if we're doing something else during the conversation, which is very handy in social situations. So we could be trying to make an impression, but also pursuing a lead on that person at the same time, and we gain the pointed question action, where we attempt diplomacy. They become then immune for 1 hour, but if our diplomacy succeeds, then the opponent, the person needs to answer us. They can lie, although they get kind of tripped up, and we get a bonus to determining that they were lying. But they can't just sit there and say nothing because we just needle them with a pointed question. They have to answer. So that is what we're going to get from Interrogation Investigator. So now, we also are going to get a bunch of skills, of skills, and an Investigator class feat, as well as, let me see here. Do we gain a, additional Investigator skill feat, or do we only gain those at, third level? We only gain those at third level. Right, because the one we gained was from our methodology.
One for our methodology, yep.
That's right, that's what I thought. So, we're going to gain an Investigator class feat. Here are our options. We can pick any of these for our Investigator. So, Flexible Studies is an option where we kind of, cram on a subject once per day, and then just suddenly you become trained in that proficiency with that subject until we prepare again for our next day. That's Flexible Studies. We can gain known weaknesses. Whenever we devise a stratagem, you could also try to recall some information about that creature, like as if we were spending an action to recall knowledge. That one's cool too. Takedown Expert lets us fight with sort of certain takedown weapons such as clubs, and we can try to do non-lethal attacks to take people down. That's odd, which the Empiricist gets too, is when we enter a new location, if there's something out of the ordinary, we notice it, and we're like, that's odd. Trap Finder lets us get an automatic check to find traps in the area, and we can deal with traps that would normally be above our pay grade. And then Underworld Investigator lets us become familiar with the criminal element in the area. We become trained in Underworld lore, which we already are, but presumably we get to replace that with another lore. And we gain our Pursue a Lead Circumstance bonus also on Thievery checks if they're made to investigate our lead, which normally is not one of the type of checks we get the bonus on. So, what feat do people want to take here between the choices being Flexible Studies to get an extra skill each day that we choose each day, Known Weaknesses to get knowledge every time we devise a stratagem, which will probably be every round in combat, Takedown Expert to be good with clubs and non-lethal attacks. That's odd to notice something out of the ordinary when we move into a new room. Trap Finder, so we can get a free chance to find traps, and we're much better with traps. Or Underworld Investigator, to be better with the underworld elements.
So far, we've got 1 vote for Flexible Studies and 1 for Underworld Investigator.
All right. Known weakness.
And 1 vote for No Weakness.
All right. So, like, a lot of the feats in Investigator are really good. Like, honestly, I like all 3 of those. I also like That's Odd. Rex Liquid is also a fan of the Underworld. That would let us use Thievery as part of what we're doing. Underworld. Okay, so Underworld's got it. So we're going to be an Underworld Investigator. So right off the bat, that means that we're going to get presumably another lore. It doesn't technically say that we're trained with another lore if we already had the lore skill, but that seems reasonable to me. Given that it says for all the other trainings that we got for our background.
So, and this also is going to help us out with Thievery, so we're going to want to make sure that we get some training in Thievery as one of our
Otherwise,
skills.
There wasn't as much point to get the bonus on Thievery checks. So, we know a little bit about the criminal element. Great. Okay, so we pretty much have done almost everything. The only thing, the main things we have to do at this point are pick skills. I guess pick languages, and finalize our ability scores. Let's finalize our ability scores before we pick skills.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, everyone, we know a lot about what happened to our ability scores. However, there's one last thing you do when you finish your character to finalize your ability scores, and that is that you get to pick 4 ability scores, and they each go up. Also, we technically didn't finish with our ancestry for ability scores. So I think we will want to wait until the end with that. So for our 4 ability scores, we obviously want intelligence, which is our key ability score.
We've got 2 in that.
We obviously want dexterity, which is the one that people have mentioned a few times for sneaking. It's used in thievery. It's just a clear choice. So the other 2, I think, are very up for grabs. Because Constitution for more hit points, always good. Wisdom for perception, always good for a investigator. Charisma to be better for intimidation, which our heritage uses. And diplomacy, which our methodology uses, seems like a good choice. So wide and strength, maybe not. But like we can. It will add damage. So what do people think in terms of our last 2? I'm going to log in int and dex. So what do people think that our last 2 should be?
I see int, dex, charisma, and either con or whiz.
Okay, what do people... Just vote in the chat for which ability scores you want for the 2 that aren't int and dex. Int, cha, dex, whiz is Dark Strider's suggestion. We could definitely do that. I think that we will make the best investigator that we can make in terms of, like, doing the investigation skills. But if we don't pick con for any of these, we're definitely going to be fragile, which is worth noting.
So I see charisma and unclear what the other one is, and dex con.
Which we already do have dex. But so we've got at least 1 here for con. We've got charisma and either con or whiz. We've got that one up there, which is charisma and wisdom. Charisma and wisdom is there.
Charisma and con.
There's charisma and wisdom again. Charisma and con. It seems like it's clearly charisma, so the question is wisdom or con.
Wisdom or con, yeah.
Charisma and con. Charisma and con. Alright. So we're going to do charisma and con.
But we still have a few others to pick.
We have 1 more.
Right? Oh, what did we pick? Did we pick the one for investigator?
No, it doesn't get another one. It's investigator.
Right, yeah. So we got investigator, and
we have 1 more. We have the other one for ancestry. It can be anything except charisma. So it almost definitely should be intelligence or dexterity. So intelligence will mean that our devise a stratagem attack is as accurate as it can be. It's a very good choice for that reason, because that's our most powerful attack. It'll give us more skills. It'll make all our investigator abilities stronger. Dexterity will make any of our attacks that we make, if we're not devising a stratagem, stronger, and it will give us just enough dexterity that we will max out the max dexterity of the heaviest light armor. So there is somewhat of a possibility
wisdom,
for dex.
Strength, int, Int?
Wisdom, strength, int. One of whom thought we had definitely already taken it. We had not. We were saving it for last, just in case.
Just in case we
so
needed something.
So it looks like
else.
it's int. We're going to go with int.
So it looks like what I've got here is that we've got 4 boosts in it, 2 boosts in charisma, 1 boost in con, and 2 boosts in dex.
That's what we've got. So we start with 18 int, 14 dexterity, and we've got 12 constitution, and what did you say was the other one?
And we have 14 charisma.
14 charisma, and 12 con.
And 12 con, yes.
Our wisdom and strength are both 10.
Yes.
Horns Finn is wondering, since chat made a monster and chat made a character, what's next on the roadmap? Well, next maybe we can make it a magic item.
Yeah,
that could
cool.
be fun. We could also pitch an adventure Eridu. We've done them before on this channel. They were actually really cool. Just come up with an adventure idea based on chat using the building and adventure rules from Game Mastery Guide. We could absolutely make an adventure. That could be a lot of fun. So, now that we have all our ability scores and we know what those are, let's pick our skills and languages. Languages is maybe easier, because we can just pick that really fast. So, our languages, we get 4 of the following languages, and since there's not...
and others you have access to is always the phrase in there, too. Though.
Yes, and others we have access to, but you know what? Let's just pick 4 from that language list for now. Elven, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Dwarven, and Sylvan. So let's just pick 2 of those not to have. Which ones do you not want? Of Elven, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Dwarven, or Sylvan? I mean, Centaur is not a bad choice. Kitsune, Warlock, given everything, but we're not picking languages that aren't from that list for now, because that would open up too much of a rabbit hole. So we're not having Gnomish and Goblin is what people are saying, because Goblin and actually Halfling is on there a few times as well as something not to have.
But Gnomish is definitely on there.
So we're definitely not gonna have Gnomish.
Yeah.
So should Halfling or Goblin be the one that we do not have? Flail Snail is not being chosen. All right.
It's Sylvan and Halfling.
Okay, it looks like Halfling just barely is beating out Goblin for not having. Alright, so we're not having Gnomish or Halfling. That means we are having Elven, we are having Goblin, Dwarven, and Sylvan. Those are our languages that we're taking.
Alright, so skills-wise, I saw someone earlier talking about wanting to have stealth, and thievery is like something that we have a special ability about using.
Yes, so we are trained in society, plus the skill from our background, which is society, so we get whichever skill we want, plus diplomacy from our methodology, plus 8 more. So that's right, we are trained in society, diplomacy, plus 9 more. Now,
so we take stealth and thievery then, based on chat and the ability that we took.
There are only 16 skills other than lore, alright? We have 11 of them. So it's more of a, like, there's only a few skills that we're not going to have. So we should take a look through the, we're going to have, like, nearly 2/3 of them.
Also, we're at Dark Fields, Kitsune, and our ability is based on intimidating people, so let's take intimidation as well.
We really need intimidation. It's going to be a big problem.
So we've got intimidation, stealth, thievery, we've got 6 more skills to pick.
So we picked 3 of our 6 flex picks. Here are the remaining options. Acrobatics, Arcana, Athletics, Crafting, Deception, Medicine, Nature, Occultism, Performance, Religion, and Survival. So we get, what is that, 6 of those 11? Just a little over half. And then we also get Underworld lore, plus we're going to go with a lore of our choice because we got Underworld lore 2 times.
Yeah.
That may not be, like, technically exactly what it says on the background, but it's close enough.
I've seen multiple deceptions here, so I'm going to go ahead and put
deception I mean, we've got the other social skills, so it makes sense to get deception.
As
people
an
are mentioning,
I'd want
some people
all
are mentioning nature.
Spell skills was another one mentioned after that, so that puts nature
A
in
lot
there
of people mention nature just because we're Wild Fields Kitsune.
Alright, so we got 4 more to pick, and then another lore as well.
Oh, well, one of the people who mentioned nature said that was one of the only ones not to take.
Oh.
There were several people who mentioned nature. What do people think in terms of, like, how, like, cerebral are our skills going to be versus how physical? Because The physical skills we don't have right now are acrobatics and athletics. The cerebral ones and sort of like the ones that use mental ability scores that we don't have are, let's see, medicine, religion, and survival for wisdom. We don't have crafting, occultism, or arcana, which would be extremely good at if we did have them, for intelligence. We don't have performance for charisma. So let's see. People are saying
acrobatics.
People are saying athletics to be able to make up for not having strength.
If you haven't got, athletics is not a good choice. And then acrobatics.
They're saying acrobatics. Okay, so let's do acrobatics then. Acrobatics. Okay, so that means we have what, 5 more at this point?
I have 3 more.
Oh, 3 more. Right. We picked 2 of them.
Because we picked 2. Yeah. We have acrobatics, intimidate. We have society, underworld lore, diplomacy, acrobatics, intimidation, stealth, thievery, deception, nature, and 3 more.
We've got 3 more. We could take the 3 intelligence skills that we didn't take. We would be real good at them if we took them. There's also been 1 suggestion of survival. There's a suggestion for occultism and arcana, which are 2 of the 3 intelligence skills that we didn't have. And I mean, I guess also you might say that foxes don't always craft things. People are saying occultism and arcana. So let's take occultism and arcana. Let's take both occultism and arcana, but then decide our last skill. What's it going to be? So I've seen survival, I've seen religion, but I haven't seen anyone second either of those. There's also medicine is always a good skill, just overall. When you have a million skills, but being one of the people with medicine is pretty decent. So far we have 1 vote
that's not medicine, so medicine's at -1.
Alright, we've got several people who said religion, so we're going to do religion.
Alright. So we do have all of the different skills that can be used to identify magic.
So now we get 1 additional lore skill due to the fact that we wound up taking underworld lore twice. And so let's pick one of the common lores that are suggested in the core rulebook, which are academia, accounting, architecture, art, circus, engineering, farming, fishing, fortune-telling, games, genealogy, gladiatorial, guild, heraldry, herbalism, hunting, labor, legal, library, specific deity, specific narrow category of creatures, specific plane other than the material plane, specific settlement, specific terrain, type of food or drink such as alcohol, mercantile, midwifery, milling, mining, sailing, scouting, scribing, stabling, tanning, theater, or warfare.
So far we have an herbalism.
Don't you dare pick underworld again. We have it too many times already.
We have overworld lore there. Herbalism and legal lore.
Yes.
And flail snail lore.
And we also have library lore.
And library lore.
Based on the AP, you can't afford not to take flail snail lore?
I don't understand.
Batman lore. Library. So we have 2 people with library lore. Yeah. Alright. So let's do library lore. Alright. So at this point, literally the only thing we have left to do is buy equipment. So, and then, I mean, I guess we should pick some basic facts about this character.
Yeah.
Like, what alignment is this character? There is, like, the finishing details step.
Yeah.
What do people think? What vibe are you getting for this character's alignment that we've been building? You've gotten to know this character in so many different ways, but what alignment would they be?
Alright, we got our first one is chaotic good. Then we've got lawful something. Then we got neutral good. Neutral good again. Chaotic good, neutral good.
Okay.
Chaotic good, true neutral. Neutral Batman.
Neutral
okay. So I think we're pretty sure that they're not
neutral
evil.
Batman was from the same person who picked chaotic good. So we're pretty sure that they're not evil. It seems like they are. It seems like the median consensus is neutral good because more people picked neutral between law and chaos. There's only 2 chaos, 1 law, and like a bunch that were neutral, and then very, very high majority of them were good. So we'll go with neutral good alignment for this character. And then we need to buy some stuff here. So one thing that we definitely want is armor. So our dexterity, we unfortunately were not able to get more than 14. We're very, very good at all of our investigator skills. But we are not quite on there in our physical stats. When we get to level 5 and get more ability boosts, we're definitely going to fix that little issue. But for now, we should probably get a studded leather armor. We don't really have a lot of strength, so that is going to put us into a pickle where we take a -1 penalty on a bunch of the skills we care about. But the alternative is to take... Let's see. The alternative would be to take a leather armor, which would lower our armor class even further, but we do have enough strength for it, so we won't take a penalty. I would recommend the studded leather, but it really depends. We will become worse at stealth, thievery, and acrobatics if we take the studded leather, which could be an issue. If we have enough money, we could potentially take the chain shirts so that we at least don't apply the penalty on acrobatics checks. And it's noisy, which does not affect us negatively because we don't have enough strength for it anyway.
So far we have a vote. Just take regular leather to not take a penalty to stealth.
What's our plus to Dex and Ninja Slayer? It's only +2. So if we just take regular leather, our AC is definitely going to be like caster tier. By which I mean, like, basically, if we get up into melee, we're going to be in trouble. Which, granted, you know, we're an investigator. We're mostly all about figuring out the mystery. It is really annoying to take a penalty on a lot of the skills we care about, though, too. So it's like there's a trade-off. There's a balance in here. There's not one obvious answer. I am very risk-averse as a player, so I would pick the studded leather armor immediately. But some people aren't, and in that case, we might want to take the leather. You can see how both options would be good in different ways. So, Hornsfen said there should be a random generator so you can just completely see what wild combos are going to come up. Yeah, you totally could. So, what are people thinking in chat?
I'll have another vote for leather.
We had 2 for leather and 1 for studded, because it was tied before.
It seems like people care more about the skills than the AC, so let's do it.
It's only 2 to 1. Now it's 2 for studded.
Oh.
3 for studded.
There we go.
All right. There we go.
But it is an interesting trade-off.
3 to 2.
Like,
yeah, it's
we
close.
could have avoided that trade-off if we had more strength, but then we have more strength, then we have less than one of the other
If we had strength, we would have probably had to take it instead of con.
Yeah.
And then our hit points and our fortitude would be very unpleasant for us.
So what kind of weapon are we using?
Before we do that, I realize we should mention we are experts in reflex and will saves and trained in fortitude saves. We are also trained in simple and martial weapons, unarmed attacks, light armor, and unarmored. So that's why we were looking at light armor. We're not trained in medium armor. Also, we would have gotten really wrecked with medium armor because we don't meet the strength requirements for it. But it would have given us great armor class if we were trained in it. So we can actually take any simple or martial weapon, but we really should take one that's agile or finesse, because otherwise we can't use it with our special investigator ability that we are heavily reliant on.
Let's see. Rapier and crossbow if possible, says somebody here.
We totally could do that. The crossbows are a little bit worse than regular bows as a weapon. They're easier to use, but we are actually capable of using regular bows, but we might not be able to afford a regular bow.
We are level 1 after all.
We're only level 1. So, we definitely looks like we're getting a rapier, people are saying. And
Sounds good.
We've already spent 3 of our starting, 15 gold pieces on studded leather armor. So
How much is our rapier?
We certainly can't just afford an infinite amount of other things. So, let's look at our rapier. Our rapier is going to cost us the following amount of money.
2.
So we've spent 5 of our 15. So that probably leaves us with enough left over for some kind of a bow. Let's see what we can do here. If we got a composite longbow,
we can't afford
it's way too much. A regular longbow would be 6 gold pieces. So we could afford that. We could probably afford a short bow.
We don't have strength.
Yeah, we don't, and we're unlikely to get it up later as well. We could probably afford a short bow as well. So the question is, longbows have a longer range and do more damage, but if they get really in close, then you can't really use them as well. Whereas short bows are cheaper, and they have a shorter range and do less damage.
But it depends upon whether you think you're going to be fighting in close quarters or long quarters.
And if we're in really close quarters, we can just rush them with our rapier.
Somebody also, Kriv also asked, what about a shield?
So that's a good question, Kriv. We can totally get a shield. We might as well, since we have a rapier. So it looks like people are saying to get a short bow.
Yeah.
And that we do have days for range 2. That's true, Kitsune, but we cannot use... we can't devise a stratagem with days.
But we can with the rapier.
So we can with the rapier, but if we have to devise a stratagem at range, it does pay to have some ranged weapons. So let's go short bow. It's 3 gold only. That'll save us enough money to get a good shield.
And how much is our shield going to be?
So in that case, we're going to get a basic steel shield. That's going to cost us another 2 gold.
All right, we got 5 gold left.
Okay, we can just use that to buy, like, probably the investigator kit.
Yeah. What does the investigator kit contain? Let's
find out together. Investigator kit.
So, for reference here, every class has a suggested kit that's here's some basic gear that you might want to get to pick them up.
It already came with studded leather armor. It already came with some of the things that we bought already. So
we
but
can
not
get an
the same,
adventurer's
not
pack?
the same weapon. Let's just get an adventurer's pack because that was in that kit, and a crowbar. Maybe not a crowbar. I'm not sure if we can afford to carry it. It's only light bulk.
That's
so
true. We can carry it. So the crowbar is 5 silver. So how much is the adventurer's pack?
That's 1 gold, 5 silver.
1 gold, 5 silver. Okay, so we've got 3.
And then another suggestion was simple manacles, but that costs all 3 of our gold. Maybe not. Writing set though, we definitely want. I think that's 1 gold and is light bulk.
Sounds good.
So we should be able to carry all of that.
So we have
Fan says maybe we should save some money in case we need to pay something during the game. Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Let's save
some flour for fingerprint dusting. Ball bearings says you always need them in a coffee kit to put suspects at ease.
There you go. Hey, we can get some flour.
All right, how much is flour?
Let's see. Powder. It's 1 silver for light bulk worth of powder. So we're gonna get powder.
All right, we've got powder. And how much is coffee?
Coffee, I think, is potentially pretty expensive if you get the blood-eye coffee.
No, don't go get.
It's level 0.
Yeah,
it's 5 silvers for coffee, but it does give us a bonus to saves against being fatigued.
All right, we got flour. We've got some blood-eye coffee.
Okay. There we go. So, we have got a bunch of stuff.
And we have 1.4 gold left over for incidental expenses that come up, like, needing to stay in an inn or buy food or things like that.
Let's see. Did we miss something else in finishing your character step of character creation?
I mean, they don't have a name.
Yeah, that's true. Finishing details. We got alignment. We have not chosen a deity, but we don't know what setting this is going to be in, so we don't have to necessarily choose a deity. But we haven't chosen a name, gender, pronouns, because that can be up to you, whoever's playing this character, what name, gender, pronouns.
We need arrows for our bow.
Need quiver of arrows. That's absolutely correct. Let's get a quiver full of arrows before we get too out in the reeds buying a lot of coffee.
We can afford at least some coffee.
So we can buy for 1 silver a light bulk 10 arrows. So let's do that twice.
Sounds good.
So Kojo Drissa is asking what was built here. So what we have is Kitsune, which is like a mystical fox person. Kitsune, detective background, investigator class. With the dark field Kitsune heritage, which allows you to unsettle people just by walking near them as a fox and then eat their fear to get some temporary hit points. With the interrogator investigator methodology, which lets you kind of like press someone into answering your question, even if they don't really want to answer. They don't have to answer truthfully, but they can't just sit and do no comment.
We've also got some Kitsune spell familiarity, so we can daze people, which is a ranged mental attack. We can create, like, spooky sounds to move along with our spooky fox thing, or we can put up a forbidding ward.
Yes. Yes, it's a detective magic fox Columbo. That's absolutely right. That's what we've got. And this detective also knows about the underworld and, like, criminal underworld, and can sometimes uses slightly not legal ways of investigating. So that's what we've got. I mean, Kriv, you could just name the detective Columbo, but that is, like, literally the name of the character from TV, so you have to decide how much your group is okay with that.
Yeah.
And Kitsune Warlock points out, if your device's stratagem is a bad roll, you can always just daze. Absolutely. And
our detective,
Play Games Patty says Shawnage Dorcha is Irish for Dark Fox.
Yeah, you can name them. You can name them whatever you want.
That's pretty cool.
We've got a wide variety of skills, including all those standard social skills and all the kinds of skills that you would need to know about magic or weird goings on, and some coffee to stay awake.
Hey, there we are. So, we have now built a character. We did it all in under an hour while having it crowdsourced a vote of building a character. We allowed every possible option except for some of the rare backgrounds. And we're done. Like, we can play this character, completely legal character to play in your Pathfinder 2nd Edition games. And you can see how many options there were. In fact, there are so many options that that they're more than, like, the number of people who live in the world, number of characters that you can build in Pathfinder by a ton. Even if you took out some of these sub-choices, I'm like, well, the skills, every skill choice is, like, not that much of a choice. Or, okay, the ability score assignments aren't that important. You still have just a huge variety of characters you can build. And it's not too bad, because the way that it works, as we saw here, is we're telling the story of the character's life as we go through. And the ability scores kind of assign themselves for the most part. We had enough options to build the character we wanted, but not so many that it was just like throwing you into a point-buy menu and saying, go wild on any points. And they're pretty generous. Our ability scores, if you're used to it in 5e, you would not get a character with 18 intelligence, 14 dexterity, 14 charisma, and 12 constitution, and 10 in the other two as your starting character. You definitely would not have that high of ability scores. So that's what we've done here. Stay tuned on if you come on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's build an adventure. That's what people in chat said to do.
Yeah,
we'll build an adventure idea together. We're not going to actually literally build the entire text of an adventure. That would take forever. But we will build the idea of an adventure together and figure out how it's going to go.
Sounds good.
That's right.
Let's say goodbye to YouTube.
Let's say goodbye to YouTube, and we'll do an outro with everybody after that. All right. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.
Bye.